Doc Rivers has got to be the most confusing coach in NBA history because depending on who you ask, he's either a Hall of Fame leader or a coach who's built a career off of one title and a lot of playoff letdowns. And the weird part is, both might be true. So which one is Doc Rivers, really? To understand the confusion, you first have to understand the reputation. Doc Rivers is a career underdog who started as an undersized guard and parlayed that into a coaching career. In Orlando, he overachieved with almost nothing and won Coach of the Year with that team. And that's where the legend began. Not as a genius tactician, but as a leader, a communicator, a guy players trusted. And then came Boston, the Boston Celtics of 2008 that had Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen. The first of what we like to call a super team, at least for this era. And Doc was the one holding it all together, managing egos, setting the tone, keeping everyone aligned with his famous Ubuntu philosophy.
In our culture, on our team, we have a phrase called Ubuntu. A person is a person through other people. I can't be all I can be unless you are all you can be.
And guess what? They go on and win the title in their first year. And just like that, Doc Rivers isn't just respected, he's certified.
Quick, congratulations. Where's the coach? Where's Doc Rivers? Doc, when you got these collection of guys together, training camp, your first meeting with them, what did you tell them?
Defense. I said defense. We play defense, we're going to win a world championship, and that's exactly what they did.
Congratulations, Doc Rivers. If you look up the word class in the dictionary, you'll see a picture of you.
But even in his most successful stops, things started to get strange and there were warning signs. Orlando let him go despite being Coach of the Year because he had a prime T-Mac and couldn't get out of the second round. And against Detroit with T-Mac, they were up 3-1 and lost. Do not forget this little nugget because this will be a massive thorn in Doc's side for the rest of his career. But forget the magic for a sec. Let's talk about that 2008 run. As impressive as it was, and you have to always credit the coach when your team wins a title, but it wasn't as dominant as you would have expected because the East back then was still hella weak. It was actually survival. 7 games in the first round, 7 games in the second round. Even in the finals, yes, it was a great performance, but there were some hairy moments. It wasn't easy at all. And here's the main point. They won the title in their first year and then won exactly 0 times after that. Doc Rivers won 1 time with that team. No dynasty, no repeat, just the one title. And that title has been the vessel that has been pushing Doc's career, many people believe. Let's be fair to Doc Rivers for a sec though. Those Celtics were formidable as hell, and okay, they may have only won 1 title, but they were literally 2 minutes and a game 7 away from winning a second one, and they almost ended LeBron James's legacy on multiple occasions. And guess what? Doc Rivers was the man behind the team the whole time. So while we can say he only won 1 championship, his tenure with Boston was quite successful. And had a few bounces gone another way, we might be talking about Doc having 2 to 3 titles. And where it all went wrong in Boston, unfortunately, the same man who preached Ubuntu and togetherness had lost the locker room.
Any story that you could share about you and Doc button heads early on?
Watching film, we talking about Chauncey Billups for some reason. So I'm like, man, why are we here talking about me when Rip had like 32 or something last night? You know what I mean? So that's what kind of pissed me off. And I'm like, man, fuck it. I jump up, boom, throw the water by the TV explode, boom, busted. Me and Doc immediately trying to go at it.
Just as quickly as Boston rose up to the top, they came crashing down just as fast, and Doc Rivers was one of the casualties, and Boston decided to move on from him. Then came the Los Angeles Clippers, Lob City, CP3 and Blake Griffin in their prime, high-flying, entertaining, loaded with talent. Doc was supposed to push them over the edge. This was also supposed to be the next step for him, the moment he proved that his 2008 championship, it wasn't a one-off, but instead, something else happened. Remember that 3-1 collapse with the Orlando Magic? Oh yeah, the LA Clippers are up 3-1 against the Houston Rockets. Just a way better team with way more talent. And oh look, they collapsed completely. And once again, different team, same ending. One of the worst collapses in NBA history. But then, 2020, he's moved on again. New stars. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, up 3-1 again. This time against the Denver Nuggets. And somehow, it happens again! And at this point, you have to say, it's not random, it's a pattern. So now here's where the reputation constantly gets confusing. This guy has won a title. He's led a team to multiple playoff runs. A lot of players will say to a man that he's one of the more inspirational coaches they've ever had. But guess what? When your team's up 3-1 in the playoffs, Doc cannot find those levers to pull to make you close. It's one thing with the Clippers, because everyone had forgotten what happened with the Magic. But what happened against Denver in the bubble with Kawhi and Paul George is one of the worst black marks on Doc's coaching resume. The Clippers players said, almost to a man, that none of them wanted to be there in the bubble. They were all suffering and just wanted to get out. And guess what? That's what a coach's job is. That's where you bring the value added. People always wonder, like, where's the value that coaches bring if you have all these great players? That right there. That's where coaches bring value. When your team needs it most, when the moment is biggest, they need you to be the catalyst. And clearly Doc Rivers was not that. And yet again, he got let go. And now his reputation is starting to get super confusing. But just wait, there's much more coming. And once again, much like in Boston, much like at the Clippers, Doc Rivers had lost the locker room.
You got to keep it real. You got to be fair, and he would have to go because you've had 7 years. You've never been to the conference finals with this franchise. And the bottom line is that that's unacceptable. First of all, two teams voted to not even want to participate in bubble play. One of them was the Clippers. They didn't even want to be there.
In the process, there's a new coach, a bunch of new shooters. Joel Embiid looks like he's in shape and ready to go.
So then he goes to the Philadelphia 76ers because the best way to fix a very confusing legacy is to sign with the dumbest organization in basketball. Congratulations, Doc. But all jokes aside, there's no excuses now because now he's in the really weak East. He's got Joel Embiid playing at an MVP level and using his political savvy, which, you know, has been the bedrock of his career. He was able to campaign to get him there. You also had a young prime Ben Simmons. This is a real contender. But oh wait, once again, same story. 2021, up big against the Atlanta Hawks, who literally had Trae Young and a bunch of other good players, and they fall apart. Game 7, the Ben Simmons moment.
Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now.
And once again, different team, same ending. Like we said, at some point, it stops being bad luck and it starts being bad coaching. Sup G, just wanted to say really thankful for all the time as you have spent watching my videos. Just wanted to remind y'all, only 1% of you watching are actually subscribed, so please do your boy a favor and hit those like and subscribe buttons. We are this close to monetization, guys. This close. Again, to be fair to Doc, with both the Nuggets and the Clippers, he had under his employ one Paul George, who, in addition to never showing up on the court when Doc needed him most, actually ended up falling in love with Doc's daughter, then cheating on her. And so, while all the playoffs was going on, there was so much internal drama tearing apart the team. Yeah, we could give Doc a little bit of a break here, but at the same time, I must go back to, this is your job. This is the crux of your job, is managing internal drama so that it does not come onto the court. And no matter what stop Doc has had, even at his most successful, at the end, it's been a nasty breakup. And he's lost the locker room in all instances.
Who's into First Take this morning? The Philadelphia 76ers have fired their head coach, Doc Rivers, Adrian Wojnarowski. Your reaction to this news? Obviously, you played there.
Well, I can't say I'm surprised.
What?
Closeout games, not his best self.
What?
This is not just on Doc, but I can't say I'm surprised.
What?
And now comes his latest disaster, the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo. And they snagged Doc Rivers to replace Adrian Griffin in a super sketchy, unnecessary move when the Bucks still had a winning record. And how has Doc Rivers repaid that, again, contentious hire? Oh, by having Milwaukee not make the playoffs, completely alienating Giannis and the rest of the locker room. Imagine during this season, while they were trying to compete and, put a team around Giannis, in a locker room argument, Doc Rivers said, "Look up my resume" to his team. I wonder if that's the best comeback for a guy who has won one title almost 18 years ago and since then has only had one playoff meltdown after another, losing to worse teams. Things got so bad for Doc in Milwaukee that not only did Giannis not play like half the season, but he had to step down. And so now he's left again with another underachieving team and kicked out the back door after being welcomed with open arms through the front. No breakthrough, no redemption, just another quiet ending. Just actually the same story again. So what is Doc Rivers really? Because he's clearly not a bad coach. Bad coaches don't last this long. Bad coaches don't win a title and have multiple playoff runs that are deep and formidable. But also, great coaches don't have this pattern. And that's the disconnect. Because Doc Rivers does something very specific. He raises your floor. He builds structure. He builds trust. He gets teams to a certain level consistently, especially in the regular season. But when it's time to go beyond that level, when adjustments matter, when pressure hits, that's where things stall. That's where things fall apart. Doc Rivers is a great coach until your team needs that added value to become something greater in the moment. And here's the part nobody talks about. Doc didn't just build a coaching career. He mastered the business of being a coach. The relationships, the reputation, the perception. My goodness. Because even after all the collapses, he keeps getting opportunities. He keeps getting trust. He keeps getting paid. And that's not luck at all. That's skill. Just not the kind people usually talk about. So who is Doc Rivers? A great leader? A flawed coach? A master of the system? Honestly, he might be all of it. But if we're talking purely about coaching, about maximizing talent, about winning when it matters the most, then yeah, he might be the most overrated Hall of Fame coach we've ever seen. And that's what makes him so confusing.